So let's break down the cost of ownership when purchasing a home. There's 5 main considerations that you need to be aware of. Hey everybody, Keith Campbell here with Keith and Sheila Realty Group, powered by the magnificent LPT Realty. The age of the home, the condition of the home, the finishes of the home, if there's been any updates, if there's been any remodeling, the landscaping, and the neighborhood and the amenities, or the HOA. So let's break down first the age of the home. The older a home is, generally speaking, not in every single situation, the higher the cost of ownership, because they have less insulation in the attic, they have less insulation in the walls, they do not have, most of them have radiant barrier on the underside of the roof decking, which reflects out radiant heat, which will really heat up your attic a lot. They generally don't have soffit venting, and that's going to be the perforated venting on the sides of your house that allows air to come in and push the hot air up through the roof, whether it's through a ridge vent, a turbine vent, a passive vent, whatever the case may be. They generally don't have as good a ventilation. So they're generally having less insulation, less ventilation, and no radiant barrier. That, I will tell you from experience as a home inspector and as a realtor, can cost you, depending on the environmental conditions of where you live, anywhere from $50 to $150 a month. The other thing is, a lot of times on the electrical, based on the age, you're going to have some 15 amp circuits, which it's not like you can go plug in a 20 amp breaker and increase them, because a lot of times the wire is sized for a 15 amp breaker. And if you put a 20 amp breaker in there, you're going to end up burning wires up, possibly catching your house on fire. So that can be a problem, depending on your use of electrical components and systems and stuff like that. So you have to be really careful if you have 15 amp circuits to make sure you have multi-outlet devices that are rated as safety devices, as far as amperage overload, may even have an arc fault circuit interrupter built into them. A lot of your older homes on your wet areas, which would be bathrooms, kitchen, exterior, garage, porches, those outlets do not have GFCIs, which is a ground fault circuit interrupter. So ground fault circuit interrupter keeps you from being shocked. An arc fault circuit interrupter, an AFCI, keeps it from overheating and catching on fire or melting the wire or the outlet or the switch. That's the difference there. So those are some of the things with older homes. The other thing with an older home, a lot of times they do not have a drain clean out off the sewer line so that you can do things like a static drain test or run a snake or a camera up the line. What are the advantages to older homes? Generally speaking, the lots are bigger. There's more room between houses. The streets are bigger. The trees are more mature. The shrubs are more mature. So those are some of the advantages. Older neighborhoods tend to be a little more picturesque versus newer neighborhoods, although it's always subject to the neighborhood. So that's kind of the thing you got to be thinking about when it comes to the age of the home. You know, if there's been remodeling done, we're kind of jumping ahead on finishes here, but I want to talk about this while we're talking about the age of the home. Be very, very, very careful with homes that have been remodeled or renovated. There's a lot of contractors out there that are scumbags that will hide stuff, not do it to code, not get inspections, not pull permits. All kinds of things happen. I can't even begin to tell you, as a realtor and as a home inspector, as a contractor, how many houses I've been in that were remodeled, that the work cosmetically looked okay, but structurally, electrically, plumbing, drain-wise, insulation-wise, were horrible, horrible projects. So be very careful with that. Make sure you hire a really, really experienced home inspector. Number 2 is the condition of the home. We're going to be looking at exterior cladding, whether it's brick, stone, stucco, wood siding, vinyl siding, cement fiberboard. There's certain things that you want to make sure are done right. You do not want open areas, whether it's at trim, at transitions, on corners, where the wall hits the ceiling or the roof. You do not want open areas where bugs and water can penetrate your property. It's a big, big deal. Walk around your house, walk around a potential house you're looking to buy. Good home inspector is going to notice all these things, document them, take pictures, put arrows on where it needs to be sealed, all those kinds of things. But it's really important that you check the exterior. The roof, as far as condition of the home. How old is the roof? What kind of roof is it? So let me give you an example. A 3-tab roof, which is about probably 50% of the homes in America, is a light asphalt composite shingle. Most of them are only rated to 65 mile per hour winds. Now compare that to a heavy composition, or in some places they call it architectural asphalt composite shingle, which is rated to 135 miles per hour. You rarely see heavy composition / architectural shingles blown off a roof. Just as susceptible to hail. However, if it's a light hail, it may not damage the heavy composition like it will the 3-tab, but you won't get the wind damage as easily. So if you go into Home Depot or Lowe's, you can go into any of these big box stores and you can see the architectural heavy composition shingle, a bundle of them, and then you can see the 3-tab. They're both the same amount of shingle, 33.33 square feet. Pick them up and feel the difference in the weight. That's why that 165 mile an hour rating's there. Look at your roof. Make sure you got good ventilation on your roof. Whether you have a ridge vent, if you have a hip style roof, it's really hard to put ridge vents on there because you don't have a long enough span for it to be effective. So make sure you have good ventilation. The closer to the ridge you can get them within code, which is usually 18 inches, if I remember right, you want it there. You don't want hot pockets of air being stuck in your roof. You want that air to come in through your soffits or your gable vents and push that hot air up through the roof. However the ventilation works. Turbine, passive, powered, solar, no matter what kind of ventilation you have, you want good flow of air. Roof-wise, have it looked at. What you don't want to do is buy a house that the roof is uninsurable. Most lenders are gonna know. They're gonna run what's called a clue report through the insurance department, and it's gonna tell them all the claims on the house, not just roofs, but any other kind of claims on the homeowner's insurance. But just make sure you're getting a solid roof. They should have replaced anything that's damaged after a hail event or a heavy wind event. Windows are really important. Now there's a lot of misinformation about double pane windows. If the seal between the panes of glass breaks, most modern windows have an argon gas in between those panes of windows that was sealed into them. Does it help with insulation? Absolutely. But let me just tell you, if you put a thermal camera on a broken sealed double pane window and a sealed double pane window, the difference is very, very minimal. I'm talking like 1-2 degrees at the most. Having the low E or double OE film on the window, along with the 2 panes of glass, is most important for the efficiency of the window and the type of frame construction that the window is built off of. If the argon gas is gone because the seal has been broken, whether that's from hail, wind, Johnny throwing a football or a frisbee into it and breaking it, birds flying into them will break those seals, and just age will break those seals. Don't get too paranoid about that. The biggest thing is you get that moisture in there when that argon gas is gone, and it creates kind of a calcium cloud look. So it's aesthetically doesn't look great, but from a functionality standpoint, it's totally fine. I am not a fan of aluminum frame windows because they sweat a lot of moisture. Like if the house is hot and it's cold outside, they're going to sweat. If the house is cold and it's hot outside, they're going to sweat. Vinyl sweats less. Composite is even better. The best window you can probably buy right now is a composite window. That's what you want to think about with windows. Make sure they open properly and lock properly. A lot of times the locks can be replaced if one's broken. HVAC, another big ticket item. So about half the houses in America have HVAC AC condensers that have R22. That's the old Freon. Not even supposed to be able to buy parts for them anymore. A lot of manufacturers built up parts before the ban went in from the EPA to stop doing R22. The biggest deal about R22 is it's about 10 to 15 times more expensive per pound than R410A. And there's even some new refrigerants coming out. But R410A has become kind of, over the past 5 years, the new one. It's not as easy just to switch out components from R22 to R410A, and I'm gonna tell you why. R410A works on a much higher pressure, so it has to have a bigger suction line. That's the big copper line coming out of your condenser that goes to your air handler. If you have a 1/2-inch suction line on an R22 system and you wanna switch it to R410A, R410A requires 3/4 inch. So you may have to get a new copper line set. that can add up to some money. Know the SEER rating. The SEER is the efficiency rating. In Texas, right now, you can't buy a system under 15 SEER. And the higher the SEER, the more efficient the system. Ductwork. If you're buying an older home, make sure your inspector looks at the ductwork really well. A lot of times it's going to be R4, R6. It's going to have holes in it from mice, squirrels, raccoons. Look at the SEER rating. How old is it? Used to be a good condenser compressor would last 25 years. Those days are long gone. If you can get 12 years out of one now, you're doing really well. Always have it serviced every spring, every fall. It will make your system last so much longer. Number 3 is the finishes of the home and considerations as far as any remodeling that's been done or updating that's been done. Flooring, paint, appliances, those kind of things. Look, if you live in an area where there is expansive soil and there's a lot of foundation issues, we live in a house that's in a very expansive soil area. We bought the house in 2022. It was built in 2018. They had put tile in. We're not going to rip it out and change it. However, if I was going to change it, I would rip it out and put a floating floor, either laminate, engineered wood, or vinyl, luxury vinyl. And the difference is a floating floor does not stick to the foundation, the concrete. It floats on it. So as you get movement, it doesn't get affected as much. When you have tile or something that's glued down, whether it's through mastic or thin set or it's a vinyl glue, if it's not floating, as the foundation moves, you can have floors start wrinkling and breaking tile and grout and stuff like that. So have that as a consideration. Paint, it is not cheap to paint a house. In some cases, it's not a matter of what you want. It's you have to paint it because you bought an older house that needs to be updated with paint. Appliances. When you get ready to sell your house, you want all your appliances to match. You don't want a black dishwasher with a stainless steel microwave and a white stove. It just looks bad. It doesn't show well. So keep that in mind. Number 4 is the landscaping. So when you're buying an older house, a lot of times you have more mature trees. You have to have a budget for tree care or you're going to end up with dead trees. I promise you. They'll get hollows in them. They will eventually have to be cut down. Don't let that happen. And don't let some Yahoo cut your trees. You need somebody that knows what they're doing. And make sure they seal those cuts with a pruning seal. It's almost like a black rubber spray or brush on that keeps infection and deterioration and other things from happening to your trees. Sprinkler systems are very, very important. If you don't have one, really consider getting one, especially if you're in an area with expansive soil, because that sprinkler system helps stabilize the soil and keep a consistent moisture content in the soil around your foundation, which helps it not move so much. It's easier to keep your grass healthy. Healthier grass with sprinkler system you'll end up with less foundation issues, I promise you. Gutters, really important you have gutters. And here's why. If you have a 3,000 square foot house and a 5,000 square foot roof with all the overhangs and pitches, 50 square roof, you need to control that water. Gutters, don't drain them next to the foundation, drain them 3 to 5 feet away. Whether you use a splash block, whether you use extensions, whatever you decide to do it. I use splash blocks because that water will hit that splash block, the curb on the end of it, splash out away from the house. If you don't have gutters, get them. It's really important to control the water from rain events around your foundation and your soil. Number 5 is the neighborhood and the HOA and the HOA amenities. So neighborhoods are really important. Here's what I tell my buyers. If you're going to buy a house and you have an option period, you need to go look at that house in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and on a weekend. Not literally go in the house, but drive the neighborhood. Neighborhoods change based on who's home, maximum occupancy of people at home versus when there's hardly anybody at home. How many people park in the street? How does it sound? What does it look like? HOAs, love-hate relationship. Dig into the HOA documents. You're going to get them. It's part of your contract, an HOA addendum. See what their finances look like. If they don't have a reserve, be really careful about moving there. Take it from my personal experience. Me and my wife, we are very upset about our HOA. They're going to get it sorted out at some point. Part of what happened with ours is when the builder handed it over to the HOA board, they didn't have enough reserves to begin with, and it was mismanaged, which only compromised the situation even worse. So check those HOA documents, see what their deal is, make sure they're not being sued. Have your realtor look them over. Make sure there's no special assessments or any kind of assessment you're not aware of that could pop up in 2, 3, 4 years. A lot of times where that happens is in gated communities. And here's why. When you put that gate up, the county, city, wherever you're living is no longer responsible for your roads. Okay? The HOA is. That means they need a very large reserve for the gate, for asphalt repairs, asphalt replacement. Everybody wants to live in a gated community. There are sacrifices with that. MUDs, Municipal Utility District. We live in one of those. There's no extra fee on ours. On some there are. Find out. Ask your realtor. PIDs, Public Improvement District. Make sure if you live in a PID, you know any assessments, any charges are going to be coming your way. And that's nothing more than a developer figuring out a way to take expenses they have for whether it's roads or sewer or water or electrical or whatever, and pass it on to the homeowners down the road. Be very careful with those. Get advice from your realtor and possibly even an attorney. Street widths are really important, especially with so many people parking on the street. We go into a lot of neighborhoods when we're showing houses where the streets are not wide and everybody's parking on the street. Another reason to go look at your neighborhoods, morning, noon, evening, weekends. It's really important. Do you have a playground? What's the condition of it? What's the age of it? Same way with the pool or tennis courts or basketball, sports courts, or any of those kinds of things. Ask lots of questions. I'm going to do a separate video, and I've already done one in the past on solar. All I'll say about solar right now is be very, 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 very careful with solar. Number one, the technology is changing literally once, twice, 3 times a year. I'll give you an example. The big thing now is solar panels that have their own inverter. Instead of one big inverter by your electrical panel, they're putting individual inverters on panels on the roof. I like that because if you lose one panel, you don't lose the whole grid. Right now, if you lose your inverter and they all your panels tie into one inverter, your solar's down. It's done. If you don't have battery backup, I don't know that it's all that much of a great investment, to be honest with you. Be really careful about what you pay. I'm not a big fan of having 30, 40, 50, 60 new penetrations in the roof because of the solar panels, especially on asphalt shingle, whether it's heavy comp, 3-tab, doesn't matter. Now, if you have a standing seam metal roof, they can put your solar panels on and never penetrate your roof, which is awesome. If you have a screw down metal roof, they still have to penetrate the roof, okay? If you have asphalt shingle, they have to penetrate the roof. If you have tile, they have to penetrate the roof. Whether that's concrete, clay, doesn't matter. Just be really careful. Here's an unknown thing to a lot of people, and I have a whole video on this, and I'll link it in this video up here somewhere. When you buy a house that has solar panels, or you install solar panels on your roof, talk to your insurance company first. Insurance companies do not pay to have your solar panels removed and replaced if you have roof work. It's very expensive. When I say very expensive, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for a company to come out there, pull them off after the roof's redone, reinstall them. Now, most insurance companies, especially with a replacement plan, possibly even cash value plans, you can get a rider or an additional policy to cover that expense. Unless it's super expensive, you need to do it because this can get very, very expensive for you having solar panels taken down and reinstalled if you have a roof claim and you have to have your roof replaced. And if you live in Texas and you have an asphalt shingle roof, irregardless of the type, you're probably gonna, if you live in that house more than 5 years, you're probably gonna get it replaced at some point. I love solar. I think it's great. Do I own it? No, I don't. I don't want those penetrations in my roof. Number one, most of the people install them don't seal them right. Number two, to buy a system with solar, like a 24 kilowatt system, you really need batteries. So these are just some of the considerations. They're not all of them. I hope this information was valuable. If it was, please subscribe and hit the bell and get notifications of our new videos. We're going to be doing a lot of home maintenance videos. We've done a lot of them on HVAC, water heaters, electrical, roofs, siding, fences, sprinkler systems. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me by phone call or text at 830-837-1071. You can email me at keithcampbellrealtor@gmail.com. Go to our website. There's tons of videos and links to our YouTube page We have so many videos with valuable information. That's at www.keithandsheila.com. If you're on our website, you want to just message me through our app on our website, you can do that, and I'll respond and hopefully answer any questions you have. If I don't have the answers, which is very possible, I know the people that do, and we'll find you an answer. Have a blessed and awesome day, and we'll talk to you real soon. Take care.